Hey guys, Shy Got Picks here. Hope everyone's doing well and having a great week. We're back breaking down UFC Fight Night in Saudi Arabia, Adesanya versus Imavov. As always, we're going to be going over every single fight in the card, the best bets, and which fights we should avoid. Now, let's talk about what's been happening. UFC in 2025 has been off to such a sporadic and unpredictable start. It's been a wild ride for bettors, and last week was absolutely no exception. We took some tough hits, including Peyton Talbot, who, despite being a massive negative 1,200 favorite, possibly got 30-26 on some viewers' card. An absolutely crazy outcome against Raoni Barcelos, and Nakamura as a negative 600 favorite with absolutely elite Olympic wrestling credentials. Didn't even go for an attempt. Doesn't even use it. Which of course was shocking and cost us, but hey, that's the fight game. It's extremely unpredictable. We can only use the information we see in front of us, right? If we know a guy is an elite wrestler, you assume he's going to wrestle, right? Sometimes it's unpredictable. On a more positive note, I've been working really hard behind the scenes creating my own brand new graphics. They took forever to put together, but I'm super excited to use them moving forward. They're going to take the content to the next level and really enhance the experience for you guys. This week's card is stacked with bangers from top to bottom, with Adesanya and Imavov, of course, being the main event, which I think should deliver. I can't wait to break it down for all you guys. So without further ado, let's get right into it. For the first fight in the card, we got Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady. He's facing Bolaji Oki. Al-Selwady's 15-4, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. Meanwhile, Oki's 9-2, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Al-Selwady, he's the type of fighter that thrives on pace and grappling. His win over George Hardwick showed his ability to outwork his opponents, but his loss to Loic Radjabev, he exposed him, and he exposed his struggles against power and pressure. His path to victory is clear here. Close the distance, mix takedowns with some striking, and avoid prolonged exchanges at range. For Oki, he's a sniper on the feet. He lands 5.63 significant strikes per minute with a 45% accuracy rate. His first round TKO over Dylan Salvador showed his ability to finish fights, but Chris Duncan exploited his ground game with a submission win against Oki. Oki needs to keep the fight standing, deny takedown attempts, and use his reach to punish Al-Selwady as he comes forward. This, of course, is a striker versus grappler situation. Al-Selwady's only path is to grind Oki down with takedowns and control. Oki's takedown defense, reach, striking power, all those give him an edge. If he can start strong and defend early grappling attempts, I think he's going to dominate. Oki's striking and takedown defense are sharp too. Al-Selwady will struggle to get inside, leaving him open to counters. I think Oki wins this one by TKO, possibly in round 2. The best bets here are Oki to win outright. Prop bets including Oki by knockout. Fight to end under 2.5 rounds. Give me Oki by knockout. Up next on the card, we got Hamdy Abdelwahab versus Jamal Pogues. Abdelwahab is 5-0 with 1 no contest. He's 6'2", 72-inch reach. With Pogues, he's 11-4, 6'3", with a 77-inch reach. Hamdy is a Greco-Roman wrestling machine with explosive takedowns and heavy ground control. He lands 3.87 significant strikes per minute with a 52% accuracy and averages 3 takedowns per fight with a 75% accuracy. He's dangerous early with multiple first-round finishes, but his cardio and takedown defense haven't really been fully tested. With Jamal Pogues, he's a versatile striker with solid defensive grappling. He lands 3.3 strikes per minute and has a strong takedown defense at 77%. His 77-inch reach advantage here and volume striking are his biggest weapons, especially in later rounds where his cardio shines. However, he's definitely hittable. He's absorbing over 4 strikes per minute and struggles against pressure-heavy fighters like Hamdy. Hamdy's key to victory is closing the distance, getting takedowns, and overwhelming Pogues early with top control. Pogues needs to stuff these takedowns, use his range, and take the fight into later rounds where he'll have the edge in volume and conditioning. My prediction here is Hamdy Abdelwahab by knockout in the first or second round. His wrestling and his early explosiveness should be enough to overwhelm Pogues, but if Pogues survives the early rounds, he's got a real good shot to win at decision and win with striking volume. My best bets and prop bets will include Hamdy to win outright, The props include Hamdy to win by TKO in possibly round 1 and or round 2. And or if you're on the Pogue side, I think Pogues by decision and got some really good value. Overall, give me Hamdy by knockout. For the next fight on the card, we got Bogdan Grad versus Lucas Alexander. Grad comes into this fight 14-2, 29 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Meanwhile, Lucas Alexander is 8-4, 29 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. Bogdan Grad is an aggressive striker, landing 6.35 significant strikes per minute, averaging 2.75 takedowns per 15 minutes, but he absorbs a massive 10.25 strikes per minute with a 0% takedown defense, which exposes his big defensive gaps in his game. Lucas Alexander is a precision striker with 55% accuracy when striking and excellent defense, absorbing just 1.83 strikes per minute while boasting 71% striking defense. However, his grappling is very limited with 0 takedowns landed and 57% takedown defense. Bogdan Grad's approach and style is all about pressure and volume, overwhelming opponents with strikes and mixing in takedowns. He's dangerous as seen in his flying knee KO of Breno Moreno and a quick guillotine submission of Bautista. However, his defense is a problem. In his loss to Tom Nolan, Grad's aggression left him open to a counter left hook that led him to ground and pound finish. Alexander excels at range, uses his reach, footwork, and precise counters to control fights. His win over Steven Peterson showcased his clean striking and disciplined movement. However, he struggles against grapplers, as shown in his loss to Joe Anderson Brito, who took him down and submitted him very early. Keeping this fight standing is going to be very crucial for Alexander. Grad will aim to to close the distance, overwhelm Alexander, and use takedowns to disrupt his rhythm. Alexander's key is to stay composed, use his superior defense to counter Grad's aggression. Keep this fight at range. Grad's weak takedown defense could also give Alexander some opportunities to make things up and score some points in the clinch. You know, my prediction, Grad's pressure can overwhelm many fighters, but Alexander's precision, range control, and superior defense make him my choice here. I think I'm going to be on an island here. I don't think people are going to hate on me on this one, probably. Especially if Grad overwhelms him and knocks him the fuck out. But I think he is too precise of a striker. And Grad is taking 10.25 significant strikes per minute. I've never seen a stat that high. So, I'm going with Alexander to win. Probably a better bet is to be 3.5, plus 3.5. But I think he's going to win by decision. I think this fight goes the distance, as Alexander's style and Grad's toughness make a finish less likely in my head. But I wouldn't be mad if someone picked Grad by knockout in their slips as well. But like I said, I got Alexander. I know it's going to be a tough one. I'm probably going to hit the 3.5, but I got Alexander to win this one by decision. Up next on the card, we got Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Marya Bueno-Silva. Jasudavicius comes into this fight 12-3, 35 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach. Meanwhile, Marya Bueno-Silva is 10-4-1. Notably, she's 2-2-1 in her last 5 fights with 1 no contest in there. She's 33 years old, 5'6", with a 66.5-inch reach. Jasudavicius, she's averaging 3.7 strikes per minute at a 44% accuracy and 2.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. Meanwhile, Bueno-Silva is landing 4.01 strikes per minute at a 59% accuracy, averaging 1.5 submissions per 15 minutes. Jasudavicius holds a strong 75% takedown defense. Meanwhile, Bueno-Silva's is at 66%. Jasudavicius thrives on grappling. She uses relentless takedowns and suffocating top control to grind out decision wins and or find submissions, as seen in wins over Ariana Da Silva and Priscilla Capoeira. Her striking is basic but effective enough to set up takedowns, and her cardio allows her to push the pace into the later rounds. Meanwhile, with Bueno-Silva, she is a dangerous striker and a submission artist. She excels in high pressure exchanges with wins by armbar and knee bar, showcasing her BJJ. She's most effective on the feet, landing accurate and powerful combinations. However, her cardio and takedown defense have definitely been exposed in losses to fighters like Raquel Pennington. Jasudavicius will aim to out-grapple Bueno-Silva here, control the fight on the mat, and grind out a decision win. Bueno-Silva's path to victory lies in keeping the fight standing and or catching Jasudavicius in a submission win off of her back, maybe. It's a classic striker versus grappler matchup here, where Jasudavicius is obviously the grappler. Jasudavicius by decision is my prediction. I think her cardio and grappling edge make her the safer pick, while Bueno-Silva's finishing abilities definitely keep this a little bit interesting. I think the best bets and prop bets include Jasudavicius to win at money line, of course, Jasudavicius to win by decision, and or if you want to be a little bit riskier, Bueno-Silva by submission. My play is Jasudavicius by decision. Up next on the card, we got Ziam versus Mike Davis. Ziam comes into this fight 16-4, 27 years old, 6'1", with a 75-inch reach. Meanwhile, Mike Davis is 11-2, 32 years old, 6'0", with a 72.5-inch reach. Ziam lands 2.92 significant strikes per minute at a 50% accuracy, absorbing just 1.66 strikes per minute. Meanwhile, Davis, on the other hand, lands a much higher rate at 5.35 strikes per minute at a 52% accuracy, but absorbs a whopping 5.76 strikes per minute as well. In grappling, Ziam averages 1.228 takedowns per 15 minutes at a 36% accuracy. Meanwhile, Davis averages 2.77 at a 53% accuracy, making him the more active wrestler. Ziam is a technical striker who thrives at range, really uses his reach and defense, which is of course a 66%, to pick opponents apart. However, he struggles against high pressure fighters and trained wrestlers. His loss to Terrance McKinney, Ziam was overwhelmed early and got submitted. For Ziam to win in this, he needs to keep Davis at the end of his strikes, frustrate him with counters, and avoid grappling exchanges. Mike Davis is a relentless pressure fighter, landing high volume strikes and mixing in his takedowns effectively. He has showcased this against Mason Jones, Mieczysław Borshov, where his aggression and wrestling very much dominated. However, like I mentioned before, Davis is definitely hittable. That 5.76 strikes per minute is high, and counter-strikers like Ziam can definitely exploit this. To win, Davis needs to close the distance, make it messy, and force Ziam into a high-paced, grinding fight. The only thing I could say about Davis is the fact that he's just so inactive. He's fought 4 times in the last 5 years. But at the end of the day, this guy's really good, Ziam wants a controlled technical striking match, while I don't know why I keep on saying Diaz. Davis thrives in chaos and pressure. Ziam's range and precision give him tools to succeed, but Davis's relentless aggression and wrestling make him a nightmare matchup for Ziam, in my opinion. I think this is Davis by decision all the way. I think he's going to pressure him and wear him down for all 3 rounds. I think the best bet is Mike Davis money line. It's probably going to be, I forgot, I think it's 250 now that I think about it. So Davis by decision, or possibly even late TKO, rounds 2 or 3. If you're backing Ziam, it's going to be by decision. I would say that's the clearest path to victory for him. But give me Mike Davis. Give me Mike Davis to win by decision. Up next on the card, we got Terrance McKinney versus Damir Hadžović. McKinney comes into this 15-7, 30 years old, 5'10", 73.5-inch reach. Meanwhile, Hadžović is 14-7, 38 years old, 5'9", with a 70-inch reach. McKinney lands 4.53 significant strikes per minute with a 50% accuracy rate, 3.45 takedowns per 15 minutes, and an impressive 85% takedown defense. Meanwhile, Hadžović lands 3.36 significant strikes per minute at a 48% accuracy rate, but has a weak 34% takedown defense. McKinney he's really all about first round finishes. He's a killer, really, and he's definitely killer be killed because he has an extremely fragile chin. He's lightning fast and really likes to, mix up his powerful strikes with his wrestling. His submission game is definitely sharp. He's averaging 2.3 submissions attempts per 15 minutes. However, if he doesn't finish early, his cardio fades quickly and it definitely leaves him vulnerable. Hadžović is more methodical with his game, relying on counterpunching and durability. He's dangerous in extended fights, but struggles against stronger grapplers. Losses to Mark Diakese and Renato Moicano showed clear issues defending takedowns and getting back up to his feet. This fight heavily favors McKinney early. His aggressive wrestling and striking perfectly counters Hadžović's poor takedown defense. If it goes past the first round, Hadžović's cardio and composure can give him a chance to outstrike and fatigue McKinney. McKinney, I think he wins early by submission, possibly TKO. Definitely likely in round 1. I think his explosiveness will definitely overwhelm Hadžović here. Before Hadžović is able to even find the rhythm, I think the best bets and prop bets are including McKinney to win inside the distance, McKinney to win by submission, and McKinney to win by round 1, really. Give me McKinney by submission. Up next on the card, we got the featured prelim on the card of Shamil Gaziev facing Thomas Peterson. Shamil Gaziev stands tall at 6'4" with a 78-inch reach and fights in an orthodox stance. He's got a professional record of 13-1 with 8 wins by knockout, 3 by submission. He's definitely known for his striking power. Gaziev also has an elite takedown defense sitting at a perfect 100%. Meanwhile, Thomas Peterson, on the other hand, is 6'1" with a 74-inch reach and fights at a southpaw. He has a record of 9-2 with 7 knockouts and 1 submission. Peterson is a pressure-heavy grappler who averages 2.49 takedowns per 15 minutes with a takedown accuracy of 42%. His significant striking accuracy is also impressive, sitting at a 61%. With Gaziev, he's a well-rounded heavyweight who shines in striking battles. He uses his height and reach to pick opponents apart at range. His power is undeniable. He has shown this in his TKO win against Maryan Budai, where he dropped him early in the second round. Gaziev also excels at stuffing takedowns, like in his victory win over Dontel Mays, where his 100% takedown defense kept him standing and allowed him to dominate the striking exchanges. However, in his solo loss to Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Gaziev struggled under constant forward pressure, especially as the fight wore on, and if fatigue settled in for Gaziev. For Gaziev to win, he definitely needs to take care of that and maintain distance, control the pace, and punish Peterson with counters as he tries to close the gap. Meanwhile, Peterson, he's a relentless grappler who thrives when he can control his opponents on the ground. His TKO win over Richard Foster was a perfect example of his ground and pound game, and his submission victory over Chandler Cole. Peterson showed he can finish fights with grappling when given the opportunity. However, Peterson's striking defense is a liability, as in his loss against Jamal Pogues. He's hittable and struggles when forced into striking exchanges and extended ones specifically, which could be a major issue against somebody like Gaziev. For Peterson to win, he must close the distance early, and get Gaziev to the cage or on the mat, smother him with those takedowns and control him. If he can avoid taking too much damage from Gaziev, Peterson's cardio and relentless style can definitely overwhelm a fatiguing Gaziev late in the fight. You know, this is definitely a striker versus grappler match. Gaziev's reach and striking accuracy and perfect takedown defense make him a nightmare for Peterson. But, you know, for Peterson, who really relies heavily on his wrestling, of course. But Peterson will try to pressure and grind Gaziev down, and if he can keep doing that with chain wrestling, he might be able to start fatiguing Gaziev and eventually start taking him down, where he could start that ground and pound game, of course. That being said, I got Shamil Gaziev. I got him by round 2 knockout. I think Peterson's takedown attempts will be stuffed early, and I think Gaziev's precision striking will capitalize on Peterson's defensive gaps. I think Gaziev wins outright, of course, and the props can include him by knockout. Fight not going the distance. I really think this really comes down to the fact that Peterson needs to survive. And if Peterson can survive, he can absolutely exhaust Gaziev. I am not high on Gaziev whatsoever. I had him losing to Rozenstruik. Everybody made fun of me for that. But I think this is Gaziev's fight to lose. Give me Gaziev by knockout. Up next on the card, we got Muhammad Naimov versus Khan Ofli. Muhammad Naimov stands at 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. He brings a well-rounded game to the table. He lands 3.18 significant strikes per minute with a 43% accuracy. His grappling stats show 1.80 takedowns per 15 minutes though he only connects on 30 of those attempts. Defensively, he absorbs 4.28 strikes per minute with a 42% striking defense and a 57% takedown defense. With Khan Ofli, he is shorter, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach, so 4-inch reach disadvantage. Has a more limited but dangerous style. He lands fewer strikes at 1.85 per minute, 42% accuracy. Grappling-wise, his takedown game is very much non-existent, sitting at 0 takedowns per 15 minutes with 0% takedown defense. His striking defense, however, is better at 53%, but he still absorbs a hefty amount at 4.77 strikes per minute. With Naimov, he's a more versatile fighter. He's shown an ability to mix up his striking and grappling very, very well, with wins coming via TKO and decisions. In his last 5 fights, he's 3-2, and his victories highlight his adaptability, really. Against Jamie Mullarkey, Naimov secured a TKO win with a sharp counter-striking game, dropping him in round 2. Although that fight was very, very, very murky for Naimov against Mullarkey, I guess. You know, it was more, I mean, Mullarkey was giving him a real big test there, you know. In his fight against Nathaniel Wood, Naimov mixed in some takedowns and some ground control to take a unanimous decision win there. In his recent loss to Felipe Lima, Lima very much exposed a key weakness, his submission defense, after getting caught in a rear naked chokehold. To win here, Naimov definitely needs to keep the pressure on Ofli, use his high striking volume, and most importantly, drag this fight to the ground. With Khan Ofli, his game very much centers around precision and power, while his output is very much lower. He's dangerous in those moments. He's got a strong submission record with guillotine and rear naked chokeholds in his record, showing his ability to capitalize on those mistakes that when they are on the ground. In his last 5 fights, Ofli is 4-1, but his most recent bout against Myron Santos was a KO loss in round 2, but I can't blame him there. Myron is going to be a big prospect. That fight revealed his striking defense can very much crack under pressure. However, his submission win over Roetz, whatever his name is, in 31 seconds definitely prove how well his guillotine is. For Ofli to win, he definitely needs to keep this fight standing and pick his moments, especially with Naimov. Naimov's striking defense isn't the best. Ofli has, he has precision to exploit that. If the fight goes on the ground, he'll definitely need to rely on his submission game to catch Naimov in a scramble. Ultimately, I think Naimov has the tools to dominate with volume and grappling. His path to victory is definitely straightforward. Take Ofli down and control him there and grind out to a win by decision. I think the best bets here, and my prediction is Naimov to win. I think the best bets here are Naimov to win here outright. Naimov by decision, and possibly to knock him out in round 2 or 3. I don't really think so. If you like the Ofli side, I think you should sprinkle on that submission, as his guillotine is definitely a live weapon against Naimov, especially if Naimov overcommits here. Ultimately, I got Naimov by decision. Up next on the card, we got Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. Aliskerov is 15-2, 6'0" with a 76-inch reach. He lands 7.03 significant strikes per minute with a 60% accuracy, but he definitely absorbs a lot as well at 7.27 strikes per minute. His takedown defense is also at 0%. Meanwhile, with Andre Muniz, he's 24-6, 6'1", 78-inch reach, so he is slightly taller with a slight inch reach advantage. He's a southpaw Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist. He lands 1.97 strikes per minute, but his 50% takedown accuracy and 15 submission wins are definitely his bread and butter and what shines in his record. With Aliskerov, he's definitely an aggressive striker who overwhelms his opponents with volume and precision. He's finished 3 of his last 5 fights by knockout, including big wins over Phil Hawes and Warley Alves. However, his fight against Robert Whittaker exposed a glaring weakness, his striking defense. He was knocked out in the first round because he left himself open to counters. On the ground, while Aliskerov has a decent submission skills, especially from his Sambo background, his takedown defense is a massive hole in his game. Fighters with elite grappling are definitely going to be able to exploit him on that standpoint and force him into a position where he definitely struggles. And Andre Muniz is that guy. Muniz is a submission wizard. He's tapped high-level guys, including people like Eric Anders, Jacare Souza, he nearly snapped Jacare Souza's arm, so you know his grappling is very elite. His ability to drag fights to the ground is his most dangerous weapon. Against Uriah Hall, Muniz dominated with takedowns and control, but in his last two losses, Paul Craig and Brendan Allen exposed his weak striking and durability. Muniz's cardio is another concern here. He tends to fade after the second round, especially when forced to stand and trade. If he doesn't get Aliskerov to the ground early, he's going to struggle as this fight progresses. This is definitely a classic striker versus grappler matchup, as we've come to see a lot lately in 2025. Aliskerov wants to definitely keep this fight standing, while Muniz definitely wants to take advantage of the fact that Aliskerov isn't that great while fighting the grappling. But the fact of the matter is that Aliskerov can definitely take advantage of Muniz's questionable chin and cardio by pressuring him early. But as I mentioned, Muniz definitely needs to close the distance very quickly and avoid prolonging exchanges. If you can secure a takedown, this is definitely his fight to win, where he's more capable of locking up submission. Of course, Aliskerov's 0% takedown defense make this a very, very real possibility. The fight definitely comes down to who can impose their game plan ultimately. Let's be honest. I think Aliskerov is going to knock him out probably round 2 before we can get there. Before we can get to the round 3, before we get to the judges. I think the best bets here are Aliskerov to win straight up. Of course, let's be honest, he's a heavy favorite here. I think you got to look at Aliskerov by knockout and Aliskerov round 2, possibly round 3. If you like the Muniz side, you have to take it by submission, but I think that's a long shot. Give me Aliskerov by knockout. Up next in the card, we got Said Nurmagomedov versus Vinicius Oliveira. I'm really big on this fight. I'm extremely excited for this fight. Said comes into this fight with a record of 18-3. He's 32 years old, stands at 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. He's an orthodox fighter who's best known for his flashy striking, submission prowess, and ability to stay defensively sound. He lands 3.55 significant strikes per minute with a 47% accuracy and absorbs just 2.13 strikes per minute on the ground. He averages 1.4 submissions per 15 minutes with a solid takedown defense at 66%. Vinicius, on the other hand, is 21-3 and 29 years old. He's slightly taller at 5'9". With a 70.5-inch reach, he uses a switch stance, making him dangerous from both sides. Oliveira lands an impressive 5.87 significant strikes per minute, but slightly lower accuracy at 43%. He absorbs more shots at 2.87 per minute, but is all about chaos and high volume offense when regarding Oliveira. He's also a better takedown artist, statistically averaging 1.78 takedowns per minute with a 60% accuracy rate. On Said's side, his game definitely revolves around control. He keeps his opponents at range with a variety of spinning kicks, snappy jabs, and sharp counters. This guy's nasty. He has some really, if you look at his highlight reels, he has this disgusting question mark kick. It's fucking beautiful. His striking defense is elite, allowing him to avoid the kind of wild exchanges that Oliveira definitely wants to be in and thrives in. If the fight goes to the mat, Said is also lethal in scrambles. He's pulled off slick submissions in 2 of his last 5 fights, including a guillotine choke in under a minute against Cody Stamann and a ninja choke against Kakramanov. Said's biggest weakness, though, is his takedown defense. He struggles against strong wrestlers, as seen in unanimous decision loss against Jonathan Martinez, where he was controlled for most of the fight. With Oliveira, he's definitely all about pure aggression. He pushes forward relentlessly, throwing punches in bunches and overwhelming his opponents with volume. He has dangerous knockout power, like the flying knee finish he landed against Bernardo Sopai. That shit was sick as fuck. And he loves to brawl. However, that chaos can definitely leave him vulnerable as well. As we've seen in that Sopai fight, he's been caught out of position before, as his lost TKO against Ali Taleb shows, and has struggled against opponents who maintain range and keep calm under pressure. Still, his high pressure style makes him a constant threat, and 60% takedown accuracy means he can mix things up if needed for sure. This fight definitely comes down to who can control the pace. If Oliveira can turn this into a firefight, His pressure and volume can definitely overwhelm Nurmagomedov. But that being said, if Nurmagomedov can stick to his technical game and keep the distance and counter effectively, Oliveira is probably going to struggle to get into his rhythm here. On the ground, Saeed's submission game is a major factor. If Oliveira shoots for a takedown and leaves his neck exposed, it's going to be dangerous for him. But as we mentioned, this one's tough. This one's really tough because they're both very well-rounded. They're both going for takedowns, and they're both good on the feet. That being said, Saeed Nurmagomedov's precision striking defense, and I think that's the key one here, striking defense and ability to be able to submit people, his submission skills, give him the edge here. I think Oliveira's relentless and reckless style will probably pay into Saeed's strengths. This is a tough one. I think Saeed Nurmagomedov is probably going to win by submission. I think that's the most likely outcome, if not by decision, of course. I think the safest bets here, of course, being Nurmagomedov to win outright. The props are to look for are by submission, and I like this one a lot, under 2.5 rounds, given the fact that both are really, really good at finishing, really. If you're feeling bold, Oliveira by knockout. I don't like it. Give me Nurmagomedov by the submission. Up next on the card, we got Sergei Pavlovich versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Pavlovich comes into this fight 18-3, 32 years old, 6'3", with an 84-inch reach. Meanwhile, Jairzinho comes into this 15-5, 36 years old, 6'2", with a 78-inch reach. Now, starting off with the numbers, Sergei Pavlovich lands an insane 5.86 significant strikes per minute with a 44% accuracy rate, but absorbs of 5.03 strikes in return. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, on the other hand, is more patient, landing 3.75 significant strikes per minute at a 49% accuracy while absorbing just 2.74. Pavlovich has an 84-inch reach compared to Rozenstruik's 78 inches, giving him a significant distance advantage. Neither fighter's known for grappling, 0 takedowns attempted in their UFC careers, and both defend takedowns at 75%. On the Pavlovich side, he's a wrecking ball, of course. He comes out guns blazing, looking for an early finish, and thrives in chaotic exchanges. In fact, 4 of his last 5 wins have come in the first round by knockout, including a 54-second destruction of Tai Tuivasa. But in his recent fights, cracks have definitely shown. His struggles to deal with Alexander Volkov's length and composure, losing a unanimous decision, and Tom Aspinall's exposed his defense, knocking him out in under 90 seconds. Pavlovich's path to victory is very much clear. Overwhelm Rozenstruik with high volume. Use his reach to keep Biggie Boy at bay, really. And don't let it go past the first round where his cardio definitely starts to fade. On the Rozenstruik side, he's the absolute polar opposite. He's calm, calculated, and lethal. A counter striker by trade. He excels at making aggressive fighters pay for their mistakes. His knockout of Alistair Overeem in the final seconds of a fight he was losing is it was fucking awesome. Rozenstruik's patience was on full display in his recent win over Tai Tuivasa, where he picked his shots, controlled the pace, and edged out a split decision win. However, his biggest weakness is inactivity. He doesn't throw as much as he really should and or could, which has cost him against high output strikers like Cyril Gane, really. To win, Rozenstruik needs to survive the storm, stay composed, and wait for Pavlovich to leave himself open for a kill shot. Now, I've been made fun of for way too goddamn long, and this man is still not getting fucking respect, and I'm still gonna pick him. Pavlovich's aggressive style gives him the upper hand early, especially with his reach advantage. If he can smother Rozenstruik in round 1 and land clean, I wouldn't be surprised. If he can force a referee stoppage, I wouldn't be surprised. But Pavlovich's aggression leaves him open, and I think Rozenstruik's counter-striking is tailor-made to exploit this. Rozenstruik's ability to absorb punishment and remain composed under, fire could allow him to land the fight-ending counter in Pavlovich if Pavlovich overcommits. I think Rozenstruik wins by knockout in the second round, maybe even the third round. I think Pavlovich is going to be his blitzing style is going to play perfectly into Biggie Boy's his style, and once the initial chaos goes away, I think Rozenstruik's patience and precision will definitely outshine in this fight. You can make fun of me all you want. I don't care. I'm going Rozenstruik. I had him in his last 2 fights. People made fun of me. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. His losses came from Ngannou, Volkov, Almeida. Like, these are not bad losses. And people think that he's a fucking bum just because of these losses. Like, I don't get it. I truly don't. I know Pavlovich is really high up right now, but he has 2 losses. In the last year, he has 2 losses. Meanwhile, Rozenstruik is coming off 2 wins. I'm going with the guy with the momentum, and I'm going with the guy that I think will outlast his opponent, just like I did when he was facing Gaziev. Did everybody think Gaziev was gonna knock him out? Yeah. Did he do it? No. Did he outpace him in round 2 or 3? Yeah. That's exactly what I think is gonna happen here. Call me stupid, call me crazy. If he gets knocked out, definitely make fun of me. But I got Rozenstruik to win. I got him to win by knockout. I think the safest bet is, of course, that this fight doesn't go the distance, and that I think someone's gonna win by knockout. Those are the best bets here. But I got Rozenstruik by knockout. Up next on the card, we got the co-main event of the night. Magomedov versus Michael Venom Page. With Sharo, he stands at 6'2" with a 73-inch reach. He's undefeated with a 15-0 record with 12 knockouts. He lands an impressive 6.82 significant strikes per minute with a 65% accuracy rate, but absorbs 4.49 strikes per minute himself. His takedown defense sits at 71%, though he rarely initiates grappling himself. Michael Venom Page is 6'3" with a massive 79-inch reach. He is 37 years old with a 22-3 record, with most of his wins coming via KO and fucking awesome, spectacular KOs. If you look at his highlight reel, MVP lands 2.38 significant strikes per minute with a 65% accuracy rate, with excellent striking defense at 60%, absorbing just 1.98 strikes per minute. While grappling is definitely not his forte, his takedown defense is solid at 70%. I do need to mention that these stats that are on the screen, and the ones that I just mentioned, are based off of his fights in the UFC. They're not based off of stats for his entire career. On his Magomedov side, he's an offensive juggernaut, really, who thrives in overwhelming his opponents with high volume striking and unorthodox techniques like double spinning back fits that he did in his last fight. His flashy kicks, spinning strikes, and aggressive combinations definitely make him dangerous, really, at all ranges and everywhere, really. In his last fight against Petrosian, landing that double spinning back fist really slapped me in the face, because I had Petrosian on this one. I don't think Shara is that good, but he is. But Shara's aggression comes with risks, really, and this is why I picked Petrosian. He leaves defensive holes when blitzing forward. I think it's obvious. He's shown signs of fatiguing when grappling heavy. Fighters like Bueno-Silva were able to land clean shots when Shara overcommitted, and against Derek Brunson, he struggled to defend chain wrestlings on over multiple rounds. Do I think Michael Venom Page is going to grapple him? Absolutely not. All I'm saying to you is Magomedov's defense is really not that good. That's my biggest take on Magomedov. He does shut me up because he knocked the fuck out of Petrosian when I had Petrosian. But on the MVP side, he's an absolute sniper. He uses his karate-based movement and 79-inch reach to dictate the distance. MVP definitely thrives in an open space. He uses his lateral footwork to create angles for his pinpoint counters, really. His unorthodox striking includes flying knees and spinning back fists, really everything. He's produced some of the fucking most spectacular knockouts you'll ever see, but he wasn't facing UFC caliber fighters, and that's has to be mentioned. And he is 37 years old. And he definitely struggles against opponents who pressure him and cut him off the cage. Fighters like Douglas Lima exposed his vulnerabilities by forcing him to fight off of his back foot and closing the distance. Additionally, MVP isn't really comfortable in clinch or grappling exchanges, which definitely have been exploited, by fighters in the past, of course, especially against like Gary Machado. This fight is going to be fun to watch. And at first, I had Michael Venom Page. I won't lie to you. I did. And the more I look at it, I can't really go on the MVP side. There's too many upsides for me to be on the Shara Magomedov side. And really, he doesn't have a visa to fight in America, or really, I don't think anywhere else besides like Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi. So truthfully, he always has home field advantage, literally always. So even if this goes to the judges, they're probably going to be on the Shara side. He's undefeated. He's a prospect, and I don't think they UFC really gives a shit whether or not MVP loses or not. I think all the upsides are on the Shara side, even the negative 180 odds. One of my patrons caught him at that plus 180 when he opened up. That was a perfect time to catch him, and really a perfect arb moment. We knew that the odds were going to flip. You knew that. You knew that I think he opened up at plus 160, and he immediately went to negative 180 in a week. Do I think he's going to go up? Not really. He hasn't yet, which is kind of crazy. This line has been open for a very long time, but I think you got to be on the Magomedov side. I think he can possibly win by knockout as well, possibly in round 2. But Michael Venom Page is elite in striking, so possibly he can outlast the entire, go the distance. Ultimately, I got Shara Magomedov. Negative 180 is too appealing. I can't go against him this time. Give me Shara. Give me Shara by decision. Then finally, we have the main event of the night, Israel Adesanya versus Nassourdine Imavov. When you look at the numbers, Adesanya stands at 6'4" with an 80-inch reach. Meanwhile, Imavov is 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. Both fighters are at middleweight, of course, but Adesanya uses his switch stance to keep opponents really guessing, while Imavov sticks to a traditional orthodox style. In terms of striking, Adesanya lands 4 significant strikes per minute with 48% accuracy, absorbing 3.21 strikes per minute. Meanwhile, Imavov, on the other hand, lands slightly more at 4.51 strikes per minute with a higher accuracy of 55% and absorbs 3.20 strikes per minute. Grappling stats favor Imavov, who averages 0.88 takedowns per 15 minutes compared to Adesanya's near zero output, of course. Both have strong takedown defense. Adesanya at 77%, Imavov at 78%. On the Adesanya side, he's definitely a master at the guy who can control his range and really his timing. His kickboxing pedigree gives him, an edge in precision and creativity. Over his last 5 fights, we've seen his elite striking on full display always. Particularly in his rematch win over Alex Pereira, where he delivered a clean KO. It was clean, However, Adesanya's recent loss, his recent losses to Strickland and Duplessis included, expose some weaknesses. He struggles against high volume pressure fighters and can be caught in exchanges if he doesn't control the pace. For Adesanya to win here, he needs to keep the fight at range, of course, with his 80-inch reach and his ability to land clean counters off of feints. And I think it's going to punish Imavov for overcommitting. If he does, of course, expect Adesanya to use his legs to disrupt Imavov's rhythm and body kicks to wear him down over time. Meanwhile, on the Imavov side, he is a fighter who mixes up his crisp boxing with effective clinch work and takedowns. He's coming off of 3 wins, including a TKO win over Jared Cannonier. His volume and accuracy make him dangerous in prolonged exchanges. However, in his last fight against Sean Strickland, Imavov struggled with cardio in his later rounds and was outpaced by relentless forward pressure. That could be a concern in a 5-round fight. Imavov's best chance to win is to pressure Adesanya and mix in the grappling, of course, by closing the distance and forcing Adesanya to fight off of his back foot. I think that's the key here. Imavov can disrupt the former champ's rhythm and possibly steal rounds with clinch control or takedowns. This fight comes down to, style and experience, I think. Adesanya has faced elite strikers and grapplers at the highest level and knows how to adjust mid-fight. His ability to manage range and land counters will likely, I think, neutralize Imavov's pressure. Imavov is dangerous, absolutely, but his cardio and reliance on forward pressure leave him open for Adesanya's precision striking, which I think is going to shine here, especially in the later rounds. I think Adesanya wins here by late TKO or a dominant decision. I think his reach and especially his experience and his striking IQ, I think that's going to prove to be a little bit too much for Imavov, especially, as I mentioned, as the longer this fight goes on. I think the safest bets here are Adesanya moneyline. For props, I'm looking at Adesanya by knockout. Adesanya to win either rounds 4 or 5. If you're looking for a little bit of more value, of course, If you think Imavov can hang in there tough, I think the prop by Adesanya is definitely a solid hedge here, of course. I think ultimately Adesanya here to win. I think it's negative 185. I think that's a good price tag to be ticking Adesanya here. I understand that he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, but he's facing really good competition. I know that Sean Strickland was a bad loss for him, but now we're seeing Sean Strickland's not a bad fighter. He's evolved. So I don't think it's that bad of an L now. It's evolved pretty well. So I got to go with the Adesanya side. I've seen him face better competition. So I got to take the Adesanya side. Give me Adesanya by knockout. I think he got this one. I'm big on Imavov. I am. I think he's a great fighter, but I don't think he's going to be able to take it against Adesanya here. Give me Adesanya by knockout. That's it for us here. Those are my breakdowns for the entire card. Do let me know who you guys got in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? As always, thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe, as these videos do take a lot of time to make. If they happen to help you out, it would be a great way to show some support. I love it when you guys are showing me that you guys are making money off my picks. Again, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Stay up.